It's time for this Auburn team to demand more of the true freshman.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We are dapping it up with the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend. And Darrell, look, Hugh Freeze hinted at it. I'm not even going to say hinted at it. He exclaimed it, pointed it out, emphasized it at his Monday presser about, hey, we're playing young guys as part of our recruiting pitch and our sales pitch to kind of add more talented youngsters to this program in the immediate future. But to me, the rest of the season, sure, you don't want to take anything away from some of these upperclassmen that have been here for a while or it's their last year of eligibility. But it's the best thing for Auburn to lean as much on these true freshmen as they possibly can. We each have three guys that we want to highlight, then an honorary kind of seventh guy that we're going to talk about. But to me, I've said it over and over and over again. Jay Crawford is a dog at corner. He has been unbelievable in the small sample size that we've seen him. We got a much larger sample size against Oklahoma, and he proves that he belongs and he's good enough to be a starting corner in the SEC as a true freshman.
So very important with his emergence because what have we said before? It seems to, if he plays well, it makes two positions stronger. And Keontae Scott was struggling on the outside. It looks like he can go back to his natural position inside. And you were very high on Crawford in the preseason. As you mentioned, he is really playing well. And not only does it help you because you've got a corner that's playing well opposite of Kayin Lee, like I said, I think it makes everything else stronger when you start to maneuver and move pieces around. But he has played really, really well early on. And I think that's a pleasant surprise. Well, maybe not to Charles Kelly and the group that got to see him every day in practice, but some of the Auburn media and some of the folks that were counting on Scott and Lee to be opposite each other. It's good. It makes the defensive backfield stronger.
Well, my question is, what took so long?
Well, that's the common theme throughout this whole narrative that we're going to talk about these freshmen being impacted. That could be the question for 3, 4, 5 guys, Zach, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's like it wasn't clear that he was better than Kite. Like the coaching staff didn't see that coming.
Well,
is that weird? Am I on an island here?
Is it? I don't know. To speculate, is it coverages? Is it recognizing things? You know, there's something for a position where your athleticism, you can just go get it at receiver. Riddick lining up outside, go get the quarterback. But maybe there's some intricate coverages that he had to learn a little bit playing corner opposite of Lee, and that's why it took a little bit longer. But again, that's a general theme for me through all these guys we're going to mention is why so late? Why so late?
Right. I just think if Crawford's in there more, you got to feel better about how Arkansas goes. You got to feel better about how Cal goes. But maybe they weren't ready. But man, I've been screaming Jay Crawford, give him a full game's worth of reps. And I think he played 54 snaps on Saturday. He was not targeted once, according to PFF. It's hard to do. That's hard to do.
And think about that. You've got Kayin Lee on the other side who got more cooked. But he's got more of a reputation of being a more established corner, and they went at him more than they did the true freshman. That speaks volumes. I want to say this too. Well, as we talk about the freshmen that have to make an impact, I want to make sure everybody understands why it's so important. Number one, they may be better. In this Crawford situation, it's just a case of, you're playing the youngster, but he may be the better option. Number two, you're getting freshmen that are experienced that you're going to see. And then third, sometimes people can stomach losing a game or when you see hope and future and progress, and freshmen provide that if they're playing well.
Can I give you another factoid about Jay Crawford before we get to the first guy on your list?
Sure.
You know which defensive player played the most snaps against Oklahoma?
Jay Crawford.
That's
wow.
And what I believe was his first start, right? I mean, was Kite hurt and I just missed that? Because he didn't play.
He did well. Then he must have been hurt. I can't imagine that they would have not at least subbed him in. I mean, for depth purposes and for freshness, you would have had to give him a few, even 10 snaps, right?
I don't know. I mean,
how many snaps did Kane Lee play?
53, so one less. They didn't really play a whole lot of corners. Like Keontae played.
Who?
Keontae Scott played, but a lot of his stuff came inside, I'm assuming. And then the only other corner that charted a snap, according to PFF, was Kinsley Faustin. So it's like, which I kind of wonder if that's correct or not. I didn't notice him out there, but whatever. So, I mean, all in all, I just think I think Jay Crawford is the starting corner opposite Kane Lee now, and he needs to be. Shouldn't have taken this long, but regardless, Jay Crawford is exceptional, and it's like he's a freshman. He's gonna have lapses, and he's gonna, blow a coverage because that's just what freshman corners do. But it's worth it. It's worth it. So Jay Crawford is a key piece, not only to this season, but for the future of Auburn football. Give me another defensive guy.
Malik Blockton. He got some playing time early, and of course, it's a lot more difficult for a defensive lineman at this level to get on the field and get significant snaps, especially with what Auburn did in the portal to put a bunch of guys ahead of him.
Yeah.
But we heard from some guys around the program that it's going to be hard to keep Malik Blockton off the field. We wish we had 2 or 3 Malik Blocktons. And oh, by the way, give credit to his high school coach who, for our show when Malik Blockton committed, he said he will play as a freshman.
Yeah.
And he has, and he's played really well. He's very physical, and he's played at a high level. So I want to just see him progress, his maturation process, start to just continue over the last 7 games, see more of him, and he just improves.
Yeah, he played 16 snaps against Oklahoma, which was his lowest snap total of the season, which is ironic because I do believe he technically started against Oklahoma, but played more snaps than Quintrell Jamison-Travis, more snaps than Zacchaeus Walker, and more snaps than Jason Jones, which is a little interesting. So take that for what it's worth. Yeah,
it is. I think you'll see that number go up. I think he'll get more snaps against Georgia, Missouri, and then we'll just have to watch his progress. He's going to have to get better. He's going to have to contribute. So there you go.
Who does he take snaps away from?
Well, it depends on where they had him. Did they have him at Zeke Walker's and Travis's position?
They let's see. They had him at right end for most of the game.
Those two combined. Mm-hmm. Travis played a lot early, if you remember, played a lot of snaps.
He did.
So yeah, I think that's where he takes some snaps away from him.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He should be taking snaps away from Jason Jones. Obviously, they play different positions, so that's not going to be a factor. Jones is
they play different positions on a few snaps. On third down, I think it's similar.
Yeah,
right? It's like who's going to be that guy in the middle of the field. And
in
a pass rushing situation right now, I think I'd rather have Blockton than Rakes or Jason right now. I don't think it's a crazy thing to say.
Well, they're more run stuffers. Yeah, too.
Yeah. He is a problem when you talk about creating a pass rush. I mean, he's been good, especially for a freshman. So yeah, more reps for Jay Crawford and Malik Blockton. And another defensive back that has stolen the hearts of every Auburn fan. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets for anything, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, concerts, the theater, stand-up comedy. It doesn't matter what it is. You type in the event that you want in the free Game Time app that's available in your phone's app store, and you can click on any of these tickets or these, and you can see the view of the venue from your seat. There's nothing else like it. Darrell, you trust Game Time, and that's the only place you buy tickets from now.
The very next college football game I go to that's not an Auburn game was purchased through Game Time. Do you want to take a bet or take a guess to what that is?
It's either Pitt or Arizona.
Arizona and against UCF, against old Gus Malzahn down in Orlando. Yeah.
How about that? That'll be fun.
Son got that for me for anniversary gift, so we're going to go down there and check that out. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Darrell, what time is it?
Game time!
Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. The true freshman outside of Jay Crawford, because we all love Jay Crawford here. The everydayers know we love Jay Crawford here on this show. Caleb Harris. Oh, my goodness. Auburn's highest rated defender, according to our friends at Pro Football Focus, played 35 snaps on Saturday. And Darrell, there's just no way that number doesn't go up. This is a guy who is like a backup plan, a late ad. They weren't positive they were going to take this kid, which now seems crazy. Right. I mean, we talked about like, okay, maybe he can be a Daniel Thomas type situation.
Exactly. Yeah. What happened?
And it's like, it's happening right in front of our very eyes. Caleb Harris cannot be on the field too much at this point.
I'm trying to recall, and you can refresh my memory, whether it was in a practice or whether it was an A-day. But you and I were standing side by side.
It was at a practice.
And he absolutely made some plays, and I was like, who is that? We couldn't figure out who that was.
Like, who's 18?
Because we didn't have a roster, right? And you're like, who's 18? And then so Caleb Harris, and we're like, wow, that's impressive. Couldn't keep my eyes off of him. And then I started hearing some stuff about Crime Dog saying stuff about him, being very, very high on him. And he's made his way onto the field.
In camp, it was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Good. Maybe in a year from now, we can revisit this. But it's like, oh, they couldn't keep him off the field. You heard, oh, okay, he's going to be in the 2 deep. It's like, all right, they'll rotate him in. He'll play, 12 snaps a game, 10 snaps a game, whatever. Maybe in different situations. But there's times where he looks like Auburn's best defensive back.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's and he's a freshman too. Yeah, I tell you what, that was a good get. And the Daniel Thomas comp when we made it a few months ago seems pretty. As far as a good prediction. So he'll only get better as well. That's the wonder. That's the thing about this that's so exciting is that they're only going to get better the more snaps they get and reps they get.
Well, and they're doing everything, right? He's on kick coverage, punt. He's on field goal. He's on kick return. He had 3 reps at slot corner. He had 18 snaps in the box. He had 7 at safety. Like they move him, or like this doesn't sound like the usage of a true freshman. And I mean, the guy must be smart. The guy must be smart to be able to kind of do all this so quickly when you've kind of seen some veterans struggle with all of these different roles. So, I mean, Caleb Harris probably isn't getting as much love as he should be right now.
That'll change. That'll change. I think as we get into November, you'll see how much more talk about him, publicity. I can just tell you that there was a lot of buzz in the press box Saturday about him and his play and his name being mentioned on the lips of a lot of the people that were up there. So that's a good one. And another one of just looking forward to track the progress of where he becomes.
Yeah. And then you've got another defender that needs more playing time.
Finally, DeMarcus Riddick gets on the field, gets significant snaps. We can see the flashes of what it is Auburn fans have been waiting for. Hugh mentioned him in the press conference as a guy that Auburn has been very, very long time before they had a guy that could go sideline to side. He's like chasing the quarterback and not letting him get on the edge. Auburn has had trouble with that. And with Riddick out there, they didn't. He just went and tackled him. Just go to the ball, make the tackle, and that's exactly what Riddick did, lining up outside. I think he had a sack. He played really well, and he's very physical. He's very fast. So for the love of God, let's get him on the field more and get him more snaps because he is dangerous. And that's my question. Again, we talked about this in the postgame reaction. I really want to know what it was that took so long from week 4 even to week 5. I mean, does a light bulb go on? What could it be when you just go get quarterback? And that's what he did.
We've heard such incredible things about DeMarcus Riddick every step of the way. Even like in the bowl practices last year, we're like, yo, Riddick is ready to rock and roll. And we just haven't really seen him. that much. And this is a guy that all of a sudden, if you're an offense, you got to know where he is because he's dynamic. And he didn't play that much, Darrell. He played 23 snaps on Saturday, but goodness, it felt like he was in every play.
Well, and I think it seemed like so much more because probably his average snap total before that might have been 5 or 6, if I had to guess.
Yep.
And so, but he needs to play 30, Saturday at least against the team that recruited him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I definitely get him up to 30, make a statement, get some outside pressure on Beck, which you're going to need. So, yeah, I'd like to see his numbers go up. But he's going to have to make – my prediction is he'll be one of these guys down the stretch that you'll see make an impact.
Yeah, and I'm okay with him taking reps from some of these upperclassmen linebackers. It's time. It's time to let's start getting the future of Auburn football ready because it's time to give these guys what they deserve, and they deserve reps in games.
Absolutely.
And that's not us saying we dislike the older guys that have been here, but it's like, okay, you're 2-3, your path to a bowl game seems tough. And if you're not going to get those extra practices because you're not going to get bowl prep, which is normally when you give reps to these younger guys to prepare for spring, that's a few months later. If Auburn's not going to get that, you need to give as many reps to the young guys as possible so you know what you've got before spring starts.
Well, Auburn faced 3 running quarterbacks out of its first 5 games. It faced Green from Arkansas, Dampier from New Mexico, and Hawkins. And Hawkins was the only one that Auburn maintained the edge on and had edge integrity. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Because Riddick chased him sideline to side. Now, there wasn't containment up the middle when he broke that long run, but getting around the end, which those other quarterbacks were doing early against Auburn early in the season, did not happen last week. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to Riddick.
Yeah, and Kieran Crawford, I mean, he's been good at a few things, but keeping contained has not been one of them. And he played 11 snaps.
And it ain't even about angles. Like Kieran Crawford's taking bad angles. Riddick, it was just straight line speed. He didn't take an angle. And it probably could have been like
well, you don't need speed to keep contained. Like you just need to
But he closed in such a fashion from one side of the field to the other that didn't even let him get around.
Riddick did.
Riddick did, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, he played more than Kieran Crawford, and I think that's something to monitor moving forward. Because don't forget, Kieran Crawford has eligibility. He's expected to be back next year. So just kind of keep all that in mind. Ironically, all the talk going into the season, when you talk about the freshmen, was about what position? Receivers. They're crucial too. And we'll say more on that in just a moment. Right here on Locked On Auburn. Darrell, today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, you can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. I mean, it almost seems irresponsible not to do it. It almost seems silly not to do it. Auburn is a 24.5 point dog. And Darrell, I'll tell you what, Auburn plus 24.5 is super intriguing to me. Because I don't think Auburn's going to win on Saturday, but I don't think they're going to get wrecked on Saturday in Athens.
What's scary about that number is Kirby is that type of coach that they could be up 20 late and still punch one in anyway just to run it up on you.
That's true.
When other coaches wouldn't, especially since he got asked the homecoming question and he looked a little butthurt about that. So
who asked him that? Do you remember?
That would be me. And he totally looked away and did not answer the question truthfully. So.
Yeah, you definitely upset him for sure. Maybe he's thinking about that. Maybe he's watching tape on Auburn right now. It's like, get him.
Yeah, I'm gonna run it up because
that Auburn podcaster. Right.
Yeah.
Check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Darrell, the freshman wide receivers are special. There's no question about it. And Cam Coleman, with the exception of a few passes where, they went off his hands and unfortunately into the hands of some defenders, he's been exceptional. He's been everything that you would want. He's made the tough catches. He's created separation. Cam Coleman continues to be what we expected him to be. The guy that I was most wrong on this whole roster is Malcolm Simmons. I thought that the timing of when he was coming in, not going through spring, it's like, yes, I never doubted his athleticism. I never doubted his ability. I just didn't think that he would be a part of the offense this year. I thought it would just take a year. Nothing against him. That's just a normal path for most true freshmen. And he has exceeded that, and he's so gifted. But it is wild that it seems like he's always on the field and he's always making plays, and he played 7 snaps against Oklahoma.
Yeah, this isn't an I told you so because you brought it up. But I remember being very excited on a show, and I said to you, I can't wait to see Malcolm Simmons. I saw him play against Wetumpka, and you said, I don't know if he's going to make – he's a good player, but I don't know if he'll make an impact that the others make.
I was wrong.
I didn't see him making this kind of impact. I really didn't. I mean, but I was excited to watch him play in certain packages because he was dynamic. So he's another one that Hugh Freeze has gone on the record saying we're just going to have to create more packages for. We saw jet sweeps. We saw that swing pass where if he puts his foot in the ground and cuts it up, it's going to be, big. We finally saw him back there at kickoffs, right, with Jeremiah Cobb instead of Sean Jackson. So he is so slowly getting acclimated into more snaps and more positions on the field. And then the route that he ran was really a nice route for the touchdown. I mean, it was his shoulders to the outside, the defensive back trailed him, and then he turned it inside real quick on the post. That was a really nice concept route, and he ran it like a veteran. It wasn't just, hey, I'm really fast, I'm going to outrun you. He's one that he's a weapon, and he's going to have to step up and be that guy. And again, at the expense of a guy like Robert Lewis, who hasn't shown us what I thought we were going to see from him.
I predicted Robert Lewis to lead Auburn in receiving this year, and that does not seem to be the case.
Yeah, I was high on it. I saw him at Georgia State. I still think he's got the toolbox, but Simmons, to me, down the stretch, needs to get more snaps because of what he's shown from a dynamic playmaker standpoint.
Yeah, it sounds like it sounds like just grasping the playbook has kind of been what's holding him back. And so I wonder how they deal with that. But he's been great. The interesting thing with all this, and this is kind of the honorable mention, is Perry Thompson.
Who's looked good in spurts, he has.
Sure.
Yeah.
Played 3 snaps against Oklahoma. You got to think that number goes up moving forward.
He seems to play a lion's share of his snaps against the Alabama A&Ms and the New Mexicos, but when he's out, seems to be getting a lot of snaps or trusted against Arkansas, Oklahoma. I think that changes too, because I'll say this. If you want to, we talked about this before, but I want to reiterate, if your season doesn't turn out to be what you expected it to be on the field, to keep the recruiting class that you have to sell immediate playing time. Mm-hmm. Well, you have to show that you're giving freshmen immediate playing time, or it looks like you're lying. Yeah. So if you can go back and go, look, come play with us next year, you can make an impact. And, oh, by the way, look at all these freshmen and the snaps they got. Perry Thompson needs to be one of those dudes that you include. Now, the problem is his position right now is being manned by 2 of the most elite receivers Auburn's seen in a long time, and Keandre Lambert-Smith and Cam Coleman. Malcolm Simmons gets the benefit of playing inside. So that's why he's probably getting more snaps. Perry plays outside.
All 3 of the snaps against Oklahoma were inside.
Well, that's good. Then they changed him up because he hasn't been playing there. So, but again, do you be making a Malcolm and Perry show and give Lewis hardly anything down the stretch? I mean, that's the real dilemma that you need to look at. But if you want to play the freshman, that's what you have to do.
Yeah. He played 8 snaps in the slot last week, and then all 3 of his snaps were in the slot against Oklahoma. So maybe they're just trying to figure out a way to get him on the field.
Because against New Mexico and Alabama A&M, he played outside.
Mm-hmm.
So they changed, and that's a good point. They might have changed it and said, well, we got to get him more snaps, and we ain't taking snaps away from. And remember, Cam Brown played a lot against New Mexico outside and had a lot of snaps, and he's getting some reps. So
yeah,
you're not going to take snaps away from Coleman or KLS. I'll tell you that much. So
you better not.
You better not. So you better move inside to get some of that.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. So all in all, give these freshmen all the reps. They're worthy of it. I don't think the drop off is noticeable. And in fact, I think in some cases it's a step up. I mean, especially with these defensive players, they've been exceptional. No question about it. Darrell, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dap6410, Instagram, Darrell Dapp, Wednesdays, Fridays, and the Reaction Show with you on Sunday mornings, and some writings in the barn Auburn.com. That's so hard for me to say.
That's okay.
It's like a tongue twister, right?
Yeah. No, the barnauburn.com, that's where you find all of my stuff as well. You can join. First month is just $1. So be sure to check it out, thebarnauburn.com. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe. And just real quick, and I want to do this when Darrell's on with me. I know September wasn't a good month for the football team, but some of the numbers that have come in now that we're kind of doing the month in review of September, historic month for this show. And we're able to do this because the passion that you guys have. And so just thank you so much to all the everydayers and just other fan bases that have stopped by. But if you're watching this, please know how thankful me and Darrell are
Amen.
for all of this. September was great for the show. I wish we were talking about wins and people were clicking on it because they wanted to hear about Auburn winning. But hopefully that's coming in the future. So please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.